Smith Show starts right now.
Edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News, 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Lots of stuff to get into. No doubt about that. Daniel Jones to get into, Cam Newton to get into, Jalen Ramsey to get into. But I got something off my chest. I got something I want to get off my chest, rather, while it's on it, because it's on my mind. And I want to get it off my chest just real quickly. Please bear with me, folks. Because obviously, with the Fall Classic, just a week away from starting, a week from today to be exact, not necessarily for my New York Yankees, who will win winners of the American League East. And as a result, won't have a wild card game. They're battling with the Houston Astros for the number one seed in the American League, period. I got to say this. Everybody in New York's excited. Because when you have to sit there and stomach the New York Jets, when you got to rave about a rookie quarterback winning one game and acting like he's the second coming to Montana because of it, that just shows how moribund you've bred for so long if you're the New York Giants. And don't get me started on the New York Knicks. We all know how awful they've been. And we know that even though Brooklyn is a part of the five boroughs, baby, it's a part of New York City, baby. We all know that when it came to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, damn it, you didn't expect them to go to Brooklyn. You expected them to be a part of the Knicks, not a part of the Nets. We all know this. This is not rocket science. And don't get me started on trying to hope beyond hope for the New York Mets. Why the hell would I want to do that? You got a GM named Van Wagenen. Am I really supposed to believe in him? Even though he was right to keep his manager and not tank the season. Mets have been exciting this year, but I digress. My point is, in October, that should be labeled Savior Month in New York, because in October is the 1 month out of the year that we get to sit up there and look at the possibility, the notion of having a championship caliber team represent the New York tri-state area. That would be the New York Yankees. I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, that as I sit here before you today, I'm proud of the Yankees and the job that they did this year. I want to extend my congratulations with them. Right now, what are they? 2.5 games out of the number one seed, battling the Houston Astros for that. The Houston Astros magic number is 3, I believe. Okay. Here's what I need y'all to know in advance. Yankees ain't winning the World Series. Yankees ain't getting to the World Series. They are the Bronx Bombers. They do smack homers out of the ballpark. They do all of those things. But I've seen this story before, and I hope I'm wrong. Boy, I hope I'm wrong. But these damn Houston Astros, man, they already won as many games as they won last year, 103. They got 5 games to go. And I just look at them right now. By the way, they've got a 4-3 edge over the Yankees in competition against one another this year, if I remember correctly. I just look at Verlander, that stud. Jarrett Cole, that stud. Remember, they acquired Greinke before the trading deadline. But they got 2 aces with ERAs under 3. Pitching wins championships, y'all. And when I look at the Houston Astros, that's what I see, man. Boy, I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do. But I got to tell you something. For me personally, I don't see the Yankees or anybody beating them. And that's sad news for the Dodgers, too. You already lost to them 2 years ago. You'd lose to them again. You just would. You just would. One of the things that I love, JC, one of the things I really, really love about Verlander is that, you know what, usually, listen, ladies and gentlemen, when you're a stud athlete as a man, sometimes when you settle down, it affects you. Dare I say your energy is compromised? But you know what? Verlander's one of those dudes where he looks even better since he married Kate Upton. Not worse. He looks even better. Verlander might be my favorite pitcher in all of baseball. And I mean, you saw him with her and you was like this. Man, I don't know. I mean, he might be a little tired sometimes. I don't know if this is wise. This dude has gone out there and he's been fabulous this year. I love Verlander. So major props to Kate Upton. All right, not just Verlander, but Kate Upton too. Kate Upton, Verlander. Major props to her. She ain't take a damn thing away from him. She's added to that man. Major props. I'm a Verlander fan. And I just don't bet against that guy. You got 2 aces. To me, winning a 5-game series is easy. Winning a 7-game series with just 2 of them is very, very doable. I'm wondering if the Yankees got 1. That's just where I'm at with it. And in German, I mean, he's out. They're about to announce that he's going to be out for the rest of the year. Domestic violence? Really? Oh. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. That's just one of the subjects that I wanted to get into today. I want to transition to football. Congratulations to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, rookie quarterback for the New York Giants, came on the scene, first career start last week against Tampa, this past Sunday to be exact. Lights out performance by him, threw for over 300 yards, threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 2 more touchdowns. Spectacular performance on his part for a rookie in his first NFL game. No question about it. Can't deny it. Got to give props where it's due. He deserves all the credit in the world. All I'm trying to say is it's 1 game. It's 1 game. Just 1. And when I look at this guy, I got to tell you, I want to see him as the season progresses. I want to see what he does. When we really look at Daniel Jones, if we're being totally honest, his placement of the football was great. Some of the passes he threw was absolutely great. Evan Ingram reminded us that even though he's a tight end, he's got wide out speed. Sterling Shepard didn't look bad either. We get all of that. There's no Odell Beckham Jr. there, but it's not like the Giants don't have anybody that can make plays if you put them in the right situation. And Daniel Jones standing in the pocket, flinging that football, sort of got reminded of the fact that the guy's been a college quarterback for 3 full seasons, whereas Dwayne Haskins was only a quarterback for 1 full season. You get reminded of all those things. You look at his size, his ability to see over the line of scrimmage, reading through his progressions, throwing the ball in the right places. All of those things. He deserves a lot of credit. But the biggest thing Daniel Jones deserves so much credit for is because he's done something we haven't seen a Giants quarterback do in the last 14 years, and that's run with the football. Because that's what Daniel Jones can do. He can run with the football. And that makes him formidable. That makes him impressive. That makes him somebody that we simply cannot ignore. All of those things are absolutely, positively true. Absolutely. But there's a flip side. When you sit up there and you talk about him, and you talk about him in the ways that some of my colleagues are talking about him. Ryan Clark reminded us, he said in August, start him. Marcus Spears calling him better than Baker Mayfield right now. It was one game. I kind of need to see more than that. That's just me. I kind of need to see more than that. I'm going to be watching Daniel Jones closely, no question about it. But I think the bottom line is we have to be honest. We're really raving about him. The biggest thing that we're saying about Daniel Jones in a very flattering way is that you are not Eli Manning. That's what we're really saying. We're really saying you're not Eli Manning. That's what we're saying. We can slice it any way we want to. That's what it comes down to. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Got some games coming up on the schedule. Washington, desperate right now at 0-3. Jay Gruden coaching for his job. That's up next. Minnesota thereafter. New England thereafter. Ladies and gentlemen, you got 3 games over the next 3 weeks. 2 are automatic losses. 2 are automatic losses. Minnesota and New England, you should not beat them. Even though with Kirk Cousins, you just never know. But Dalvin Cook is behind that backfield. Let me tell you something right now, that brother's special. Minnesota a different team when they give him the ball. Their defense is stout, no doubt, but they're a different team when they give Dalvin Cook the ball, no doubt about it. But if you're the New York Giants, between Washington, Minnesota, New England, and Arizona, it would be an achievement if you're 500. It would be spectacular if you were 3-1. It would be otherworldly if you were 4-0. It's fairly predictable that the best case scenario is 1-3. I'd say 2-2. I think you could beat Washington and Arizona. And by the way, both of those are home games at MetLife Stadium. So I don't know. It's something to keep your eye on. It's something to watch. It's something to monitor. All those things are absolutely, positively true. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. That's one thing we need to keep our mind on. Here's the other. You know, I bring up Jalen Ramsey's name because I want to rehash some things about Tom Coughlin. You see, the news has come down that Jalen Ramsey now has a back issue. And because of that, even though he was scheduled to be at the team facility, he's not necessarily practicing. Doug Marrone in the press conference literally, not figuratively, not presumably, literally was laughing when the reporters were asking him about Jalen Ramsey's back. You know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? We know he's lying. Ain't no damn back injury. That's what they're trying to say. That's what they're trying to say, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I got news for you. I don't care if he is. If that's what you got to do to make sure that you get paid while waiting to get traded, so be it. The man made it very, very clear he doesn't want to play in Jacksonville anymore. He made it very, very clear he doesn't like being a player under the stewardship of Tom Coughlin's organization. He's made it very, very clear that he felt disrespected by Tom Coughlin and he doesn't want to be there anymore. He doesn't have an issue with Coach Doug Marrone, regardless of their sideline spat. His issue is with Tom Coughlin. Now, there are those of you out there that might have a problem with a player flexing whatever figurative muscle he thinks he has. What I would say to you is, when it comes to the sport of football, would somebody tell me what choice do you have? even though they say he doesn't care about the money, when you got Carson Wentz getting 107 in guarantees and Jared Goff getting 110 in guarantees and Ezekiel Elliott getting $50 million in guarantees and a $90 to $100 million deal overall, and they were 3 of the top 4 picks in that 2016 draft, and number 5 in that draft also happens to be arguably the best corner in football in Jalen Ramsey, and he's only making $3.6 million. And he went to Jacksonville to potentially give him an extension beforehand, and they looked him in the face and told him, don't even think about it. And then you're losing 12 or 14 games. And you give Blake Bortles a contract extension. And then you go out and you give Nick Foles a contract extension after you realize what a huge mistake giving Bortles any money for. Bortles' deal was so bad, Jacksonville is paying $16.5 million just not to have him. So you have that going on. And you go and you pay Nick Foles, and he gets hurt game 1 of the season. Minshew has been a pleasant surprise. No question about it. Nobody saw it coming. But I would sit here and I would ask y'all to consider something that Jalen Ramsey actually deserves a lot of credit for. He actually deserves a lot of credit for this part. Jalen Ramsey announced a couple of weeks ago he wanted to get traded. He thought that they would trade him after last week's Thursday night encounter. So did almost everybody else, which is why our very own Adam Schefter went on Sunday's NFL Countdown and reported, or actually even before that, would get up and stuff like that during the week. He actually reported that there was a particular team that called the league office to inquire if we were to acquire Jalen Ramsey after Thursday, could he still play Sunday? And the NFL had to inform them, you're only allowed to play 1 game a week. That's how serious folks were about getting him. That's how serious the Jacksonville Jaguars evidently were about moving him. Jalen Ramsey could have sat out that game, that Thursday night game against Tennessee. He could have sat out that game. He could have refused to show up and practice or play. He could have done all of that. But considering the late notice and how things were going, what did Jalen Ramsey do? He still went out on that field for Thursday night's game and balled. He still showed up. Now, I'm not trying to act like there wasn't an obligation to some degree. You are getting paid. You are under contract. You are the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What I'm saying is he could have screwed them over. He didn't do that. He did not do that. He showed up on the field and balled, thinking it was going to be his last game as a Jacksonville Jaguar. This is the NFL. He easily could have got hurt. He could have suffered a season-ending injury. Remember what happened to Earl Thomas last year in Seattle? Remember why he looked over at Steve Carroll and threw up his middle finger? Remember that? Because he wanted his money. The Seahawks wouldn't pay him. He obviously felt Pete Carroll had a lot to do with that. They wanted him to step out on the field and play out his deal, and he got hurt. Season was over. So why is he giving the middle finger? You don't want to hear somebody talk about we care about you. We love you. We think about you. But kiss off. That's what he was saying. That's what the hell he was saying. Now give Tom Coughlin credit for this. Give Tom Coughlin credit for this. I can't imagine Tom Coughlin telling anybody he loves them. Not any of the players. I have no doubt he loves his children and his grandchildren and some of his contemporaries and his friends. But a player, Tom Coughlin telling a player, I love you, buddy. I can't see it. I didn't see him do that when he was sipping on some champagne when they won the Super Bowls. I can't imagine Tom Coughlin doing that. I can't see that. And I'm willing to bet my check. If he did do it for a player, it damn sure wasn't Jalen Ramsey. I'm willing to bet the house on that. So he don't have any love for Jalen. Jalen don't have any love for him. But Jalen still went out there and balled for his teammates and helped secure a win over a division rival. And as a result, it helped salvage somewhat Jacksonville's season thus far. Now you got owner Shad Khan involved, knowing what a stud Jalen Ramsey is. And he's like, I ain't trying to let this brother go. So I got to mend these fences. And who knows, ladies and gentlemen, it might involve letting Tom Coughlin go. I mean, after all, what's happened to Jacksonville? The AFC Championship game, true. Fell apart last year. We're falling apart this year. Can't find a quarterback. Then had your quarterback gets injured in game one. But you're looking at some of the other pieces around. The defensive players weren't the ones taken care of when they went to that AFC Championship game, when they had 6 Pro Bowlers. They weren't the ones being taken care of. It was folks on the offensive side of the ball being taken care of. So these are all the things that they're thinking about. And this has a lot to do with Jalen Ramsey's unwillingness to stay in Jacksonville any longer. We'll see how that pans out. My question is, who you siding with, Ramsey or Coughlin? What do you think Shad Khan, the owner, should do? Get rid of Jalen Ramsey and trade him, or get rid of Coughlin? These are the things. Because we remember Coughlin when he was with the Giants. If you 5 minutes early, you ain't 5 minutes early, you late. He is very rigid to the point where Michael Strahan, who loves everybody, didn't like him, at least at one point. Don't get me started with Plexico Burris and others felt. That was what was going on with Coughlin. So how are we to assume that things have changed? 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News Network, Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart. We'll get to your calls in more in a minute. Don't touch that dial. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, do you have frequent heartburn? Like the kind where you have antacids stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean. You keep some in your bag or your desk or your car or your nightstand. You have those chocolate tablets ready for whenever and wherever heartburn strikes. Well, listen up. There's an easier way to deal with your heartburn. That's Prilosec OTC. Just 1 pill a day will last a full 24 hours with zero heartburn. So kick your antacid habit. It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief. But I got news for you. They haven't won a Super Bowl since 1991. Oh, I'm sorry. They haven't been to one either. Oh, I got more news for you. They haven't been to an NFC Championship game since 1991. Oh, I got more news for you. Since 1991, that is literally 28 years. The Redskins have been in the playoffs 5 times. 5 times. 5 times. In 28 years. What the hell you expect people to feel? You got sit up there, I don't know if it was Jonathan Allen or somebody, going to some profanity-laced rebuttal with reporters yesterday about people counting them out and you know, don't love us now, don't love us later then, don't love us later then. Well, when have you given them anything to love? I mean, what the hell is going on here? You don't win a Super Bowl, I understand. You get knocked off, I understand. What possible excuse can you have being in the nation's capital with an owner like Daniel Snyder, who, if nothing else, throws his money around? You've got all the necessary resources available. There's been plenty of times we looked at the Redskins and we've seen talent. And you got 5 playoff appearances in 28 years to show for it. And you got an attitude with the public, with the media. Don't support us now, don't support us later. What have you given them to support? Inquiring minds would like to know. I mean, no disrespect, Jonathan Allen. I'm just asking. I'm just asking. You got to be kidding me. You don't see why people will have an attitude with you. You got the nerve to have attitude with other people. You lucky folks don't have an attitude with you. Jay Gruden has had ample opportunity to turn this team around. And the fact of the matter is, he hasn't.
I mean, yeah, should they fire him? The guy's been a bum forever.
Jay Gruden, I think he's on borrowed time here in Washington.
The concept of why you would fire somebody never seems to involve just plain merit of inability to execute.
We're giving everything we have. We're not producing. Something that has to be done.
If Jay's last name wasn't Gruden, would he be the head coach of the Washington Redskins? Would he be the head coach of the Washington Redskins this long? I don't think so.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Your home and car insurance. Have to make sure I say that, of course. Also, if you missed any of my opening segment, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Quicksilver Card, earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase, everywhere. Hey, what's in your wallet? 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're live with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's get to the phones for my man Ryan Clark to come on. Comes on to start off hour number 2. By the way, I'm having welterweight champion of the world, Errol Spence Jr., on at approximately 30 minutes past hour number 2 because obviously he's fighting Saturday night against pretty damn good fighter and a tough one at that, and Sean Porter. So it's going to be real interesting to see Staples Center, L.A. Don't miss that. Errol Spence Jr. be on 30 minutes past hour number 2. Ryan Clark jumpstart hour number 2 as well. Until then, let's get to the phones. Let's go to Mike. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Mike? Talk to me.
Stephen A., love the show, love your passion. I have a question because I know how much you love the Cowboys. What do they need to get it done? Do they have everything that they need, or they need preparation and coaching?
They have coaching. They need coaching. You need a head coach. Kellen Moore is doing a nice job as a coordinator. The defense is the defense. We all know that. But what we must not forget is Jason Garrett could potentially be a weak link. Can't forget that. Can't summarily dismiss that.
That's my fear. That's been my fear.
No. It's your fear. Your fear, your uneasiness, your potential misery is my lovely scenario. This is what I wish for all you. This is what I wish for all you Cowboy fans everywhere. So you're talking to the wrong person if you're calling up to have me assuage your fears. I hope you stay unhappy. I don't wish you and your family unhappiness, especially during the holidays. But just on Sundays when the Cowboys are playing, I hope you're unhappy as often as possible. Have a good day. Let's go to Lucas. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Lucas?
Hey, much respect, Stephen A. I don't think Antonio Brown has a mental problem. I think that he does his impulsive behavior when he gets drunk. The brother might have a drinking problem. You know, that's like the kind of stuff he does is what people do. You know what I'm saying? When you're thinking about stuff, you're feeling emotional, and
Stop
you're
right
having
there.
those drinks.
Stop right there. Don't do that. In your heart of hearts, what you're really doing is you're looking for an excuse to explain away his behavior. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And I'm telling you, we got to stop that. We got to call it what it is when it is. If a guy, listen, you didn't have, let me ask you this question. Can I ask you a question, man? Can I ask you a question,
Yes,
Lucas?
sir. Absolutely.
Were you thinking about him having a drinking problem when he was on the field, catching over 100 passes for a minimum of 1,284 yards a season when he was with Pittsburgh?
Absolutely not.
All right, check this out. Did you know that on many occasions, according to reports emanating out of Pittsburgh, there were times they had to keep the plane waiting for him? He was late all the time. He was irresponsible with his behavior on far too many occasions. And Mike Tomlin was taking heat because he sort of enabled it. Ben Roethlisberger actually told teammates he didn't want to come to work a lot because he knew the environment that Antonio Brown had created and how at least half the locker room was siding with Antonio Brown because he wasn't going to tell what Antonio Brown was doing. Did he have a drinking problem then?
Probably not, huh?
See what I'm saying? We got to be real about this. We got to be honest about this. You can't sit up there and be like that, right? And then turn around and change up like that. Can't do that.
Yes, sir.
Can't do that. If he had those problems before when he was living it up but still being a distraction, now that it's finally working against him, we want to sit up there and say, oh, it must be CTE. Or it must be alcoholism. Or it must be something like that. Nah, how about it that you just feeling yourself?
Right.
All right?
Yes, sir. You have a blessed day.
You do the same. Adam, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. I want to talk about the Eagles. They have a big game at Green Bay tomorrow night.
Very big game.
They're 1-2 on the season. They battle key injuries already. Should we be concerned about them right now, or what do you think about the Eagles moving forward?
You should be very concerned because injuries are plaguing them. I'm not blaming Carson Wentz. I've seen Carson Wentz throwing the football long enough. I think 2 drop passes cost them 2 games. That's how close they were. And so I think when you look at, when you talk about the game against Atlanta, Nelson Aguilar doesn't have a touchdown pass it's not a touchdown if he doesn't catch that pass. Of course it is. And this kid Whiteside dropped the pass right in his hands. Right in his hands against Detroit on Sunday. So I look at it and I say, wait a minute, now let's put the brakes here. No Deshaun Jackson. Alshon Jeffrey is compromised. Suspect running game. And still, that's how close you came. I think the Eagles are incredibly formidable, if healthy. Right now, their issue is health. Thank you for the call. Pete, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Pete?
Yes, Donovan. But I just want to say Jalen Ramsey probably going to end up on the Raiders if we trade the first-round pick, hopefully. And another thing, for everybody that's calling you ignorant, they need to watch I Think I Love My Wife, because you was preaching that stuff back in 2007, man.
I'm not worried, man. Listen, people can call me whatever they want. I'm sitting here, they're there. Okay? I'm the one talking, they're the one listening. They can say whatever they want about me. That's what make the world go round. You in this position, you got to put on your big boy pants. You understand? You hold people accountable, they're not going to like it. And I understand that. And they can come at me all they want to. I assure you, I can take it. Appreciate the call, though, and thank you for the kind words. Let's go to Sean. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Sean?
Yes, sir. How you doing today, sir?
I'm all right. Talk to me. What's up?
I would like to talk about the New York Jets. Even though we 0-3 right now, I have a strong feeling we can finish the season as 10-6 or 9-7.
You said the Jets?
So when we get our quarterback back.
Time. You said the Jets, as in the New York Jets. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You think the New York Jets could win 10 of their next 13 games?
You can look at the schedule. The schedule is very terrible. The only play we got is the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Ravens. We could beat everybody else.
All right, let's look at that. Because I was getting ready to hang up on you. I really was. Because that just seemed like an ignorant statement. But I'll play along. Let's look at this, okay? Let's look at this right here. So we have Philadelphia, Dallas, New England, Jacksonville. Those are the Jets' next 4 games.
Right? I don't know what's wrong with them now.
Okay. I understand you got the Miami, Giants, Redskins, Oakland, and Cincinnati, Miami. That's a 6-game stretch. I can understand you pointing to that because Sam Darnold should be back by then. Their last 3 games of the season are at Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and undefeated Buffalo. I see another 10-loss season for the New York Jets. That's what I see.
No.
Yeah, I see it. Goodbye. Have a nice day. Andre, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Yeah, how you doing, Stephen A? I think Jalen Ramsey putting his foot down right now has to do with the trade deadline coming up on October 29th.
Probably so.
He does not want to stay in. And it could go kind of one of 2 ways. Jalen Ramsey's been a durable guy, hasn't missed a game in his 3 seasons, So all of this, injury, back soreness, so on and forth, is kind of out of line. So it has to do with him wanting out. and this is the way he's going to go about it. But it's interesting to see how.
I don't think he's trying to wait until October 29th, though. I think he was hoping to be on another team this week.
Indeed, and he's kind of forcing the issue, versus, you could play and try to work these things out behind the scenes, or you could just kind of, as he's doing, just say no more, and this needs to get done. And it's going to be interesting to see how they respond. You see the situation with Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon now is reported to be coming back to the chart. He took that. So hopefully, I'm a Jalen Ramsey fan supporter. Obviously very talented guy. All pro, so on and forth. So you would like to see him, them work something out, them get a deal done. But I don't know how. It's unclear. When the both sides and it becomes personal, if that makes it, if it's going to happen. Now back to him and Tom Coughlin. I called before and I made it clear. To me, Tom Coughlin is the architect down in Jacksonville. He's the equivalent of what Pat Riley is, with the Miami Heat. They brought him in to build the team up, success and some failures. But so Tom Coughlin's not going anywhere. And I think it would help his reputation and his legacy. This whole hardline thing, people have a problem. Strahan has a problem with Tom Coughlin. But does he have a problem with that Super Bowl ring on his finger? Okay, we don't have a problem here in New England with Bill Belichick, being, having a military. So I don't have Tom Coughlin. He's a hard-nosed, old-school guy. He shouldn't get as much flack for that, in my view. We don't. With Belichick, it's all praise. He's mean-mugging people all over the place. Okay, but hopefully Tom Coughlin is able to work this out with Ramsey. So it would be a win-win for both of them.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate the call. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute. Here's the Select Quote term life insurance difference. Most companies give you one option, one policy, one rate. But Select Quote shops and gets you up to 10 options from highly rated life insurers. For a free personalized quote, call 1-800-601-6992 or go to selectquote.com.
Brought to you by Marathon.
I don't know if we'll see him again this year because they don't have anybody left to play that we'll be paying attention to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, they're going to be on milk cartons pretty soon.
So with that being said, how do you view the Heisman race unfolding in light of the fact that there's a level of competition that he's not going to face? Tua's doing his thing. There's no denying that. Plus, you got some other guys you're looking at as well.
I think Trevor will have a difficult time getting back in the Heisman because of what I just got through saying. He will not be in a meaningful game until December 28th, Stephen A. I mean, he can rack up big numbers, and he's off to kind of a shaky start in the games we watched. But I'm not going to watch this weekend. You're going to say, I'm not. Let me plan my day around Clemson at North Carolina.
No,
nobody's watching them.
Nobody's watching.
So the Heisman right now is Joe Burrow, who was at Ohio State, played behind Haskins. He is he's the leader right now. Tua, I think, is going to be a finalist. Depends on how that game will knock out somebody. The winner of the Alabama-LSU game, the loser is probably gone. Jalen Hurts is still a major contender.
Yes, and Jalen Hurts has looked absolutely spectacular. Do we look
Justin
at it?
Fields,
Do we look at that and praise Lincoln Riley? Do we look at that and say Jalen Hurts? This was a winner we just ignored. I mean, how do we look at it?
No, listen. I think Jalen was a good quarterback. He wasn't as good as he is now, but again, he's been around a long time, Stephen A. So, but Lincoln Riley is still the best quarterback coach out there. There's no doubt about that. And I just only wish I could represent Lincoln Riley because. Man, are the offers going to start piling up at his house?
Here's my attitude. Doesn't Cliff Kingsbury help his cause tremendously? If Cliff Kingsbury can get a job and he's got a below 500 record as a college coach, just because he got relationships with some quarterbacks, here's a guy in Lincoln Riley that's produced the last 2 Heisman Trophy winners, and it might be 3 in a row before all of
Yeah, he may not go to the Cowboys like I originally thought,
right.
But listen, Cowboys season has still got a long way to go. It's not over. Nobody's apologizing. I know you're not apologizing to anybody out there. And that's what people need to remember. I'm not trying to give a lesson here. Just let's stop this overreaction train every week. This is a long season in college and the NFL.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
and is presented by Chase. According to our very own Adam Schefter, Melvin Gordon, star running back for the Los Angeles Chargers, who's been holding out for a new contract, may end up ending his holdout for the 1-2 Chargers and coming back to work. Not etched in stone, but it's leaning in that direction. Obviously, with Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson, one would think that that would be the reason he's coming back, because they're not getting the job done, but actually they're not doing a bad job. Both have played all 3 games. Eckler's averaging 4.2 yards a carry. Jackson's averaging 7.9 yards a carry. Their running game hasn't exactly been the reason for their struggles. Okay? So let's be very, very clear about that. Maybe he's coming back because, number one, they're not winning games, but number two, the running game is looking pretty damn good without him. Even though it's not looking that good because they're not getting the ball enough to run. Anthony Lynn, former running back and running backs coach, give him the damn ball. Maybe you beat Detroit instead of losing 13-10. Maybe you beat Houston instead of losing 27-20. There.
Hey, how you doing?
Man, you better speak up and hurry up. We ain't got much time. Go ahead, get to your point.
Yeah, I was wondering, now that they got a new quarterback on their center, what do you think about their run? I know they got a tough schedule.
Who?
The Giants.
Okay. Now they got a quarterback?
Yeah.
You know, that's an ignorant question. Goodbye. Have a nice day. He's going to ask me about the run when Saquon Barkley just went down for 4 to 8 weeks. That's just a stupid question. Or you just did something to agitate me so you can sit up there and say, I got Stephen A to go off on me. People do that, you know. Dean, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A., what's going on, man?
I'm listening. What's up?
Yankees going to the World Series, man.
I hope you're right, but that pitch in Houston, I'm worried.
Remember I called last year, and I tell you, though, about you said the Red Sox going to beat the, you was right about that one, though.
Yes, I
was. Hey, I'm going to tell you, though, when the Yankees win the World Series, I'm going to come to New York and pick you up and take you to the best jerk chicken spot you ever seen.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. We have West Indian roots, too, you know. I'm just telling you, the Yankees pitching ain't up to snuff. That's my issue with them. Let's go to Blake. You're live with Stephen A. What's going on, Blake? Real quick, go.
I'm a big believer in doing the right thing. Keep your head down, work hard, grind it out, and rewards will come. Jerry Jones drives me crazy how he rewards Elliott. And Prescott, honestly, shouldn't even take the field. He's risking a ton of money.
Yeah.
I respect that he does it. But with all these backups playing lights out, could that affect the money that he has given? And last question.
I can't imagine. There's no excuse. There's no excuse not to pay Dak Prescott. None. Jerry Jones is running out of them fast. The way Dak Prescott, to me right now, is number 2 in the league for league MVP honors. He's the number 2 candidate behind Patrick Mahomes right now.
Why not pay him right now?
That's right. Pay him right now. I agree with you.
I'm asking, why isn't he?
Because he wants to make sure that he doesn't set the market. He wants to make sure that Dak doesn't be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Remember, Russell Wilson is making $35 million a year right now. Big Ben Roethlisberger is making $34. Carson Wentz is at about 33. And Jerry Jones wants to make sure that Dak Prescott doesn't get more than those people. That's why.
Last question. Assuming the Giants are out of it, do you start Eli at home the last game of the season?
No, you don't insult him like that. He's been around for too long that he would consider that disrespectful, that you just threw him in there, to start one last game. He doesn't think he's finished. It would be insulting. Hour number 2 up next. We'll start off with Ryan Clark. Here with you over the international airwaves of ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 250-plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. The hunt for the playoffs is on. Tune in tonight as Bryce Harper and the Philadelphia Phillies visit the Washington Nationals, presented by Scott's. Coverage begins at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio. and the ESPN app. Also, for the biggest concerts and games to the hottest theater shows and more, Vivid Seats has it all. Download the app and join the Vivid Seats Rewards loyalty program today. Always great to have my next guest on the line, former Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers, analyst extraordinaire for ESPN, contributor to First Take, catch him on NFL Live, catch him on SportsCenter after the games on Sundays, probably Mondays too. I won't get on him about LSU or being a former Washington Redskins. I'm talking about the one and only Ryan Clark. He's on the line with me right now. What's up, man?
What's up, big brother? How you doing, man?
Before I even get into some NFL stuff, I must say, your LSU Tigers are 4-0. I must say that.
Good.
I must say that. But I must also say this. I'm not impressed. So you go up against Texas and you need 45 points to win because you gave up 38, and you go up against Vanderbilt, even though you scored 66 on them, you really gave up 38 points to Vanderbilt? I mean, how are you feeling about LSU right now, Ryan Clark?
I can say this, Stephen A. We both know only thing that matters is what happens November 9th.
Okay.
And looking at this team and looking at this defense, it makes me nervous. When you have to stop Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs Jr., Jalen Waddle, D. Smith, and Tua Tagovailoa, like, you have to be able to stop people. And it does make me worried when Sam Ehlinger can throw for 400 yards and when they do give up over 30 to Vanderbilt. Because even if we can score points, that means we just lose in a different way this year than we have other years to Alabama. So that has to tighten up before we go down there, because it'll be another year where we get all excited and then it doesn't come through because we can't beat the team in Tuscaloosa.
Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's get to the NFL, your forte, your level of expertise as well. I saw you on TV bragging this morning. I saw you. You were on TV on Get Up with Mike Greenberg, and he re-aired some clips dating back to August where you were talking about, we've seen enough from the preseason alone. Start Daniel Jones now. Don't wait. Put him in a lineup now. He's going to be pretty damn good. And obviously Pat Sherman, the Giants, ultimately waited until week 3, but they did it. And he showed out in his first game. So now Ryan Clark looks like a prophet. Tell the audience your thoughts and feelings about Daniel Jones. Why so gung-ho about him? How you feeling now?
You know, Stephen A., I was with all of you guys when they drafted him, though. At least I love Dwayne Haskins. I thought he should have been picked 6 to the New York Giants. But then I watched Daniel Jones handle himself throughout the offseason when everybody was down on the pick and saying that Dave Gettleman reached for him. You never heard anything out of him. He just went to work and showed the Giants that he was the guy they drafted him to be. And then you get into training camp when he starts to play well in preseason games, and our own Dianne Rossini basically tried to force him into saying he should be the starter. All he talked about was how much better he needed to get, how much more he needed to learn. So he showed me that he had the disposition to be a starting quarterback in New York. You know you have to be different. You can't have thin skin. You can't be the Mark Sanchez type of personality. And then with what he did in the preseason, sometimes just getting smashed and coming right back and standing in the pocket, throwing down the barrel and making big plays throughout, I just felt like the guy had it. And then to see him come out in his first regular season game, get down 18 points, not get nervous, not lose composure, but bring his team back to win. You haven't seen quarterback play like that for the New York Giants in years, and I know it's a welcome sight for all the fans.
Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. So what happened to the notion, Ryan Clark, it's just one game, and it was against Tampa, who's making adjustments. They were doing a cover 2 last year. This year they're in a 3-4 with Todd Bowles blitzing all day, every day. That's his basic forte, particularly out of the 4-3. What about the fact that it's one game, and it was against a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that's not going to be confused by anybody for being the best elite team defense in the game?
No, absolutely. I understand that. It is just one game, but I do want to make this point, Stephen A. There was 2 things that changed about the New York Giants offense on Sunday that's been different from what has been the last year. One thing is Daniel Jones was the quarterback, Eli Manning was not, and their best player, Saquon Barkley, wasn't even playing. For 2 games this season, this team didn't look like it knew how to score points. This team didn't seem like it would even have a chance to win a football game. And Daniel Jones changed that. We haven't watched the New York Giants move the ball efficiently through the passing game the way that they did with Daniel Jones. And it's the same people, Stephen A. We haven't seen a quarterback run a zone read and pull the ball and outrun the nickelback of any team. I don't care if it's Tampa Bay or if it's the New York Jets. He's added something different to what the New York Giants can do offensively, both schematically, execution-wise. And so when you can do that, it's meant for you to be out there. I'm not saying he's going to be a gangbuster and go to the Pro Bowl this year, but what I am saying is Daniel Jones has the skills to be extremely successful for the New York Giants.
Ryan Clark, when we look around the National Football League right now, what quarterback has really surprised you the most in terms of how they've performed?
Gardner Minshew, and I know that's not the sexy pick, Stephen A., and I know it's also kind of easy to say it, and it was Lamar Jackson very early on in the year, but Gardner Minshew, and I'll see if you agree or disagree, Gardner Minshew looks to me like what I thought Baker Mayfield would be.
Yeah.
I thought the way that he brings energy to this team, his accuracy in throwing the ball down the field, if not for 3 drops by D.D. Westbrook on Thursday, he throws for over 300 yards
without
and
question.
adds another touchdown. And so to watch this kid play and the excitement that he's brought to the game, this is what I expected to be seeing in Cleveland. So to be comparing a 6th-round pick in this draft to the number 1 overall pick of last draft and the Heisman winner, that's something I never would have been prepared to do. We weren't even expecting this man to be the backup in Jacksonville, and now he's a starter. I truly believe, had he been the backup to Blake Bortles last year and played this way, that Nick Foles wouldn't even be a Jacksonville Jaguar right now, because this guy is showing us he's a very, very good NFL starting quarterback.
Gardner Minshew, 65 of 88, 73.9 completion percentage, 692 yards, 5 touchdowns, just 1 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 110 in what essentially amounts to a game and a half for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're listening to Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. With that being said, how does that have you feeling about the Jacksonville Jaguars, particularly with news coming down that Jalen Ramsey now has a back issue, couldn't practice, and probably won't play this Sunday? Your thoughts about all that?
So I was definitely with Jalen Ramsey on being sick, because being sick was something that you can prove. And now you have this back issue. And I know Doug Marrone has tried to, play it off that, hey, there's nothing going on with Jalen. This is just things that happen. This starts to make you wonder, is this relationship that Shad Khan wants to mend even something that can be repaired? And so when this team loses Jalen Ramsey, it's not the same team defensively. You don't have that guy that can just stand across from other number one wide receivers on each team and clamp down and lock up and give you freedom to do everything. So I do think that it hurts their chances to compete in many situations. I think on the bright side for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Stephen A., I didn't expect them to go to the playoffs anyway. This wasn't a team that I saw could win the AFC South. I think the Houston Texans are the cream of that division. I also think the Indianapolis Colts are a better team right now than the Jacksonville Jaguars. But it does tell me that they're fighting a fight they can't win with Jalen Ramsey, and it feels like he gave them the one game that he was willing to give them. He wants to stick to the trade request, and he's going to, at least from what it looks like now, make sure he makes that happen.
How do you feel as a former player that now obviously follows the game as a commentator and pundit? How do you feel about the notion that a player under contract in the National Football League can go to an ownership group and says he wants out and exert that kind of muscle purely and simply because he can't stand the executive running the organization?
It's one of those things. It's so foreign to my era of football, to the football that I played. It feels a little strange, and I want to be the old dude that's like, get off my porch. You shouldn't do this. But as a member of the NFLPA, I love it. I love it that these guys can now take their careers into their own hands. I love it that they can now exert some sort of power and have at least an option to point their careers in the directions that they like them to go for their happiness, not necessarily for their success on the field, but just to be happy, to be comfortable, because so many times we are made to feel like you don't have that option, that the separation of ownership and labor is so vast that you have no control over where you are, how you play, and who you play for. And players are showing now that, at least some players are showing now that they're willing to stick their necks on the chopping block, willing to be perceived in whatever way they have to be perceived in order to play in places and do things that they want to do. And it's different. If I was a teammate of some of these guys, I think I would feel some way about it because I would want us to all be in it together. But as a former player and a former PA member, I feel like this is a good thing for players now because at least they have some type of voice.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is, and I get that part, and I appreciate that answer, Ryan Clark, but what I'm asking is, do you think it improves or jeopardizes Jalen Ramsey's chances of getting out of Jacksonville? Because an owner like Shad Khan, maybe not him, but typically an owner might sit up there and say, if we capitulate to this because he doesn't like Tom Coughlin, that's just opening a Pandora's box we don't want opened.
No, it really is. I totally understand that. And I think this becomes a situation or a example of, okay, who is going to bend first? Because if Jalen Ramsey's back is hurting, it's hard to prove that, Stephen A. It's hard to tell him that he has to go out and play. And you actually can't tell him that he has to go out and play. And so now you're keeping a player on your team. You're paying a player that doesn't want to be there and is also not providing you with anything that allows or helps you to win. And so it comes to a head where you say, okay, is it better to get the picks for this guy and move on before he ruins that? Or do we just hold on to him out of spite? And these owners are businessmen. That's not going to make money. That's not smart ways to invest money. And so I think we're going to have to see who steps up in this situation and who makes things, go into the direction they want to, because we've seen Antonio Brown make maneuvers. Now you have Jalen Ramsey doing the same thing. Ezekiel Elliott holds out when he has 2 years left on his contract and still gets his money. Minka Fitzpatrick asks for a trade, and he's traded to Pittsburgh. We are seeing ownerships and organizations bend to the will of these players. I don't know if it stops on this one.
Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Melvin Gordon, according to Adam Schefter, is thinking about coming back and, ending his holdout with the Los Angeles Chargers. You like that?
I do like that. I like that for him in the sense of I don't think it was something he can win. I just don't think Melvin Gordon was going to get the contract that he wanted to get. There weren't many people that are willing to trade for him, give the Chargers what they would want, and also do a deal that fit what Melvin Gordon's needs seem to be. And so you can't just sit at home and not collect checks. You want to go out there and try to put good film out there and show people that, you can still play, show people that you are worth the money that you're getting. And on the other side of it, right now, the Chargers are 1-2. Eckler and Jackson have played well, but they haven't played to an all-pro potential. And Melvin Gordon can come in, change this running game, make more plays, score more touchdowns, and show this team his worth and also the other teams in the league by changing the trajectory of this season as it is early for the Los Angeles Chargers and saying, hey, you know what? I belong in that Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley realm of contract.
But is that why he's doing it, Ryan Clark? Or is he doing it because the two running backs, Jackson and Eckler, are there? They're doing their thing, and that might be the reason he's coming back a little bit early.
I think that's a part of it.
Yeah, they haven't looked bad.
I think that's a part of it. Eckler's played really well. Justin Jackson is somebody they already like. He got injured in his rookie year, so now they get an opportunity to see what he can do on game day. And the worst thing you can ever do, Stephen A., is allow people to know that they're better off without you. You can't be that person in a relationship that says, you know what, I'm going to walk out and leave and show them how miserable they are without me, and then go let your former partner shine. And so for him, he's looking at it and saying, okay, these guys together have done what I could do for the Los Angeles Chargers. They aren't necessarily hurting from the running back position in the running game nor passing game. And so now you have opportunity to make a decision that puts you back into the fold. You know you'll be the number one guy, and maybe you can go out and prove to them that you are a step above or a tier above where these guys are.
Are you worried about Cam Newton?
I am. I most certainly am. One, because I'm a fan. I just love the way that he plays ball. I love the physicality he brings to the position, and I also love the way that he's excelled at it and doing it in a style of play that is unique to him. With that style comes a lot of unnecessary hits. And I also blame it on the way that Cam Newton has been officiated for a very long time. Some of the hits that other quarterbacks don't take in the pocket without them being flagged or without guys being fined, Cam Newton has been subjected to that. I think that also plays a part in his, premature deterioration. But for me right now, to watch him go from where he was through the first half of the season last year to where he is as a quarterback as we sit today, inaccuracies, the inability to throw the deep ball, not being able to run the ball and gain the extra yards that we're used to seeing. I think he needs to, they're talking about it being a Liz Frank injury. I think Cam Newton needs to sit out until he's 100%, until he's fully healthy, because what he puts on film will be evaluated for what it is and who he is. It won't be a part of the injury.
Ryan Clark, injuries can provide an in-depth explanation as to what we've seen from Cam Newton. How do you explain what we've seen from the Atlanta Falcons led by Matt Ryan?
I just think that Dan Quinn has lost that team. Obviously, there were some injuries last year that put them in the position that they were in. You come in this year, you keep Dan Quinn and Raheem Morris. This team is finding ways to lose games. You go back to Indianapolis and you're playing Jacoby Brissett, and that team, you're not stopping the run. Keanu Neal goes out again with an Achilles injury. But when you have Matt Ryan, who's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in this league, who has made just a boatload of money, you give Julio Jones $66 million. You have Calvin Ridley. You're supposed to be able to score points and make the important plays to win games, as we saw them do against Philadelphia. But just remember, save from a drop pass by Nelson Aguilar, they lose that game as well. And so for them, they have to find ways to be better and put games away more quickly.
Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Your Steelers, is this season over? They're 0-3.
I think it is. I believe it is. And it's over from the expectations that we put on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mason Rudolph did have two very big throws in the San Francisco game, one a run and catch by Juju Smith-Schuster, another down the sideline to Deontay Johnson. But other than that, he couldn't create. The run game has taken a step back as Mike Munchak has moved on to go coach elsewhere. And this team just can't produce offensively. If you're playing San Francisco with the quarterback at Jimmy G, who just, frankly, to me, is just not what he was before the injury, and you get 5 turnovers and you still lose, that's an issue. And that's an issue that I don't know is quickly fixed.
You just said something interesting about Jimmy G. Are you saying that you don't feel as high on him as you used to?
I don't. I was never one that actually jumped on the bandwagon with Jimmy G. I was kind of in a holding pattern on seeing him play a little bit longer. But there was an interception he threw week 1 that was just a bad read. That touchdown to Pettis to win the game was actually another bad read. The 2 interceptions, even though they were tips, were throws that were off the mark. And in watching this team play, the run game is exceptional. They're great in the pass rush. Defense is playing really well. But Jimmy G is holding this team back. Jimmy G is putting this team in a position when they should be blowing people out. Obviously, they did beat the Bengals very well. When they should be blowing people out and pulling away in games, as they should have against the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they are the better team on paper. They have the better roster. Jimmy G is not allowing that. And Kyle Shanahan can scheme up anything he wants. He can do the things that he needs to do to win games. But when you're playing the Rams and you're playing the Seattle Seahawks, who are 2 teams in your division, when it gets down to crunch time and I have to choose between Jared Goff or Russell Wilson and Jimmy G, you're taking those other 2 guys every time, and that doesn't bode well for your playoff chances.
Well, keep in mind that for the purposes of this show, Ryan Clark, we call him Porn Star Jimmy. That's his name. It's porn star Jimmy. It's not Jimmy G.
I'm not fooling with you,
It's
man.
not Jimmy. It's porn star Jimmy. He's the one that went out in Hollywood with paparazzis watching with a porn star. And I'm not knocking him for it, Ryan Clark. Who am I to judge? I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking him at all. But it is apropos to call him porn star Jimmy. My last question to you, my man. Dallas Cowboys, are you about to tell me they're the best team in the NFC? Is that what you're about to tell me?
Team in the NFC, period.
Even when you watch what Chicago did to Washington on Monday night with that defense?
Stephen A., you and me can go out and do that to Washington with that defense.
Yeah.
And we're both old. Listen, Dak Prescott is playing at a level that I'll be honest, I never expected him to play. He's playing better than Carson Wentz. He's playing better than Jared Goff, the top two picks in the same draft that he was in. This defense has come so far by drafting the right way. Jalen Smith, Van Der Esch, and now you have rushers on the outside, two corners that can play press man. This team is complete top to bottom. Great coaching by Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, and Chris Richard defensively as a defensive coordinator. And I think one of those guys will replace Jason Garrett if Jerry Jones moves on. This team is complete. It's the most complete Dallas Cowboy team I think we've seen in 2 decades, and this team has an opportunity to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And I believe whether it's Kansas City, if it's New England or wherever it is, I also think they have a chance to beat that team as well.
If you had to bet your money right now, who would it be, Kansas City or New England, to meet them?
New England. I think New England is just better defensively, and as much as I love Andy Reid, I think they're better coached.
Yeah, you were raving about the Cowboys just a few minutes ago. I know it's time for you to go. Appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot, Ryan.
All right, my boy.
Take it easy. My man Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. You can catch him on NFL Live. You can certainly catch him on First Take. You can catch him on SportsCenter on Sunday nights, Monday nights after the game, breaking stuff down. The brother's gifted, no question about it. Love having him on the show. Always appreciate him. That was Ryan Clark for ESPN right here with the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 888-SAY. ESPN is always the number to call up. That's 888-729-3776. Up next, he is the welterweight champion of the world. Pound for pound, one of the best. But I got news for you. They haven't won a Super Bowl since 1991. Oh, I'm sorry. They haven't been to one either. Oh, I got more news for you. They haven't been to an NFC championship game since 1991. Oh, I got more news for you. Since 1991, that is literally 28 years. The Redskins have been to the playoffs 5 times. 5 times. 5 times. In 28 years. What the hell you expect people to feel? You got to sit up there, I don't know if it was Jonathan Allen or somebody, going to some profanity-laced rebuttal with reporters yesterday about people counting them out and don't love us now, don't love us later then, don't love us later then. Well, when have you given them anything to love? I mean, what the hell is going on here? You don't win a Super Bowl, I understand. You get knocked off, I understand. What possible excuse can you have being in the nation's capital with an owner like Daniel Snyder, who, if nothing else, throws his money around? You've got all the necessary resources available. There's been plenty of times we looked at the Redskins and we've seen talent. And you got 5 playoff appearances in 28 years to show for it. And you got an attitude with the public, with the media. Don't support us now, don't support us later. What have you given them to support? Inquiring minds would like to know. I mean, no disrespect, Jonathan Allen. I'm just asking. I mean, you got to be kidding me. You don't see why people will have an attitude with you. You got to know to have attitude with other people. You lucky folks don't have an attitude with you.
guys have to step up for Carson Wentz.
We're 1-2, yeah, but, we have a lot of the season left.
Right now, he's trying to do too much.
We're going to keep building those guys up and keep telling them, hey, the ball's coming right back to them.
As Carson walked back to the locker room, I asked him flat out, did this extra work have anything to do with the drops on Sunday? And he looked at me and he said, absolutely not.
I don't care what their record is. We know that they are a tough opponent, and we better be on top of our game because we're going to get their best shot.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil
not crude oil. The proof is in the Pennzoil. Also, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Quote, buy and save on home insurance with Progressive's new Home Quote Explorer. Only at Progressive.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it is always an honor to have my next guest on the line. He has held the IBF welterweight title since 2017. He is fighting for another welterweight championship this Saturday night, Staples Center, Los Angeles, California, the one and only Errol Spence Jr. What's going on, big time? How are you, man?
Hey, how's it going, man? I've been good. Finally counting down the days.
I got you. First of all, listen, why this particular fight going up against Sean Porter? Tell us that.
It was the best available opponent, and, he's a WBC champion of the world, and that's the most prestigious belt out there. That's the belt I've been wanting for a long time, and I'm finally getting my crack at it. So, and this is a big unification fight, so I definitely wanted this fight.
When you think about your career and where it's gone thus far, you're 25-0, 21 KOs. That's an 84% knockout percentage and what have you. The last time we saw you was against Mikey Garcia, an undersized fighter who moved up 2 weight classes to fight you on, I believe it was March 16th, 2000. I think it was March 16th. Talk to me about when you look at yourself and where your career is going right now. How do you feel about it personally, where you are right now in terms of what you feel you have to prove?
I feel like my career is going perfect. This is my second time fighting on pay-per-view, fighting on Fox pay-per-view. I've been getting, promoted doing NFL games and doing primetime TV hours. And I don't think, any other fighter, outside of, Sean Porter, who's fighting me now, and Mikey Garcia fought me before, and Keith Thurman Pacquiao, getting that type of publicity, in between NFL games, in between the Cowboys and things like that. So I feel like my exposure and the fights I'm getting a unification fight with Sean Porter, I feel like my career is going perfect and going in the way I want it to be going. And I'm getting paid what I'm supposed to be getting paid. So everything's going good.
Errol Spence Jr., reigning IBF welterweight champion of the world, fighting to unify the belts. WBC crown on the line Saturday night, as well as the International Boxing Federation crown at the Staples Center, live this Saturday night. Pay-per-view. Make sure you check it out. Errol, when I look at you, clearly to me, you're one of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters on the planet. Where do you rank yourself and why?
I rank myself top 5 just because, all my competition, even though, they say it's going to be hard or, someone's going to test me, I make it look easy. So, I think I'll definitely be top 3 pound for pound with an amazing, one-sided performance against Sean Porter. So I feel like I have the opponents there, and then I have a lot of opponents that's in front of me, whether it's at 47 or at 54. So, I'm definitely going to make my case to be number 1 pound for pound by the time the beginning of next year.
But I got to admit to you, I'm a little worried. And here's what I'm worried about. I think Sean Porter's a damn good fighter, really, really tough, is going to try to get all up in your mug, and I think that you can handle it. But where I become worried is this. I think certain guys don't want to fight you. I'm looking at, a Keith Thurman. I understand the Manny Pacquiao's of the world. I know Terrence Crawford says he wants you, and I believe him. He ain't scared of anybody. But what I'm thinking is, even though that would be the mega fight all of us want to see, I look at the Danny Garcias, the Keith Thurmans of the world, and others, and I find myself wishing that you had fought them too. And I don't know if they're going to give you a fight. Is it really about business? Is it about them running from you? I don't know what the deal is. Why have these fights not taken place? And I'm not trying to accuse them and say they're running from anybody. I don't know. But I would like to see these fights happen, and they haven't happened. Why is that?
I think they haven't fought me because they haven't had now with me fighting Sean Porter and becoming unified champion. I think money overrides fear. So, I feel like, I'll be the money guy of the division, the top guy in the division. And if, they want to get paid the way they're supposed to, they'll have to fight me. So I think a lot of these guys will fight me as soon as I dethrone Sean Porter for his WBC crown and become the unified champ.
Now, what's the history with you and Sean Porter? Can you tell me about that? I've met him a couple of times. Seems like a really good guy, but in the same breath, obviously, he's a rough rider. Ain't scared of anybody. He'll get in the ring and hold his own against almost anybody as far as I'm concerned. Talk to me about the history between you two and why we should look forward to these fights other than your quest to unify the belts.
Well, me and Sean Porter, we really don't have any history. Me and his dad have a lot of history during amateur tournaments and him being an amateur on the national team coach. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot more history than me and Sean Porter. Me and Sean Porter always, paid respect to each other and things like that when we seen each other because we always been the top guys in the amateur system. But, people can tune into this fight because if you know Sean Porter, he's a guy that comes forward, has a lot of heart, loves to fight. He makes it rough and it makes his opponent real uncomfortable. If you ever watch me fight, I'm very entertaining, whether it's one-sided or we're both going at it. So, I think, the clash of styles is going to mesh. And, this is going to be, it should be a classic fight. I mean, if he can withstand my punches and he coming forward, it should be a classic fight.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't recall you having a fight where both of y'all was going at it. Every fight that I've seen you and Errol Spence has pretty much been one-sided. You pretty much dominated everybody. I don't recall seeing it where both guys were going at it. When did that happen?
Well, you see, if it was one-sided, it was a one-sided entertaining fight.
Got you.
But with the Kell Brooks fight, I mean, we had points in the fight where he was getting the best of me. But besides that, it wasn't really anybody where it was just tick for tat.
Do you feel you need a knockout Saturday night against Sean Porter?
No, I don't. I don't need a knockout. I want a knockout. If the knockout don't come, I'll be happy with a unanimous decision. But with me, I just want a dominant performance. And I would love for it to be a one-sided dominant performance because I believe, like I said, I want to leave the ring and, be able to talk to my kids after I retire from boxing and still have my brain intact. So, I don't find it pleasurable to get hit with unnecessary punches or get hit with punches that you don't have to get hit with.
Errol Spence Jr. right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Before I let you get on out of here, I'd be remiss in bringing up the name Terrence Crawford. Obviously, in a lot of people's eyes, he's number one, number two pound for pound on the planet. He's made no bones about the fact that he would love to get you in the ring. You've made no bones about the fact that you would welcome that opportunity. Are we going to see that in the very near future? I know you're not a promoter. I know you're not the one to answer those questions fully, obviously. But I have to ask. I'd be remiss in neglecting to ask you about Terrence Crawford and how much do you really, really want to go against that man?
I want to fight, but when Al come to me and tell me that the business is right, and him and Bob talked about it and it looks right, then we'll have a fight. But Al is my guy, so if he tells me that the business is not right and it's not what it is, then the fight is not gonna happen. So as long as he comes with me with the green light, we can make it happen. But if it's not, then it's not gonna happen. But it's a fight I definitely want. Bob Aaron said he wants to fight. Terrence said he wants to fight, but if the business not right, it's not gonna happen. Just like with the Floyd and Pacquiao fight, it didn't happen. But the business was right, so the business gotta be right.
I get that part, but I tell you this much too: as you get set to go against Sean Porter this Saturday night, pay-per-view, Staples Center, WBC IBF Championship on the line in this unification bout. Here's the deal: you have a lot of folks out there that look at you going up against that guy, and the thought of potentially messing anything up, losing the future opportunities that lie there and wait for you down the line. Is that something a fighter thinks about going into a fight of this magnitude, particularly considering the money, not only the money that you're making, but the money that you're destined to make if victory comes your way? Do you think about those things at all before a mega fight like this?
No, because if it's destined to happen, it'll happen. So, I don't worry about it. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. So I don't worry about it or, hold it over my head or think about it that much. So, I believe in, my destiny is my destiny. So I believe 100% I'm gonna win every fight that I get into or that I'm gonna have with someone. So I'm not worried about what's gonna happen in the future.
Errol Spence Jr., reigning IBF welterweight champion of the world, right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Appreciate you, my man. Good luck Saturday night. I'll be watching.
Thank you.
All right. The one and only Errol Spence right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
I don't know if we'll see him again this year because they don't have anybody left to play that we'll be paying attention to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They're going to be on milk cartons pretty soon.
So with that being said, how do you view the Heisman race unfolding in light of the fact that there's a level of competition that he's not going to face? Tua's doing his thing. There's no denying that. Plus, you got some other guys you're looking at as well.
I think Trevor will have a difficult time getting back in the Heisman because of what I just got through saying. He will not be in a meaningful game until December 28th, Stephen A. He can rack up big numbers, and he's off to kind of a shaky start in the games we watched. But I'm not going to watch this weekend. You're going to say, "Oh, well, let me plan my day around Clemson at North Carolina."
No,
nobody's watching them.
Nobody's watching.
So the Heisman right now is Joe Burrow, who was at Ohio State. Played behind Haskins. He's the leader right now. Tua, I think, is going to be a finalist. Depends on how that game will knock out somebody. The winner of the Alabama LSU game, the loser is probably gone. Jalen Hurts is still a major contender.
Yes, and Jalen Hurts has looked absolutely spectacular. Do we look
Justin
at it?
Fields,
Do we look at that and praise Lincoln Riley? Do we look at that and say Jalen Hurts? This was a winner we just ignored. How do we look at it?
No, listen. I think Jalen was a good quarterback. He wasn't as good as he is now, but again, he's been around a long time, Stephen A. So, but Lincoln Riley is still the best quarterback coach out there. There's no doubt about that. And I just only wish I could represent Lincoln Riley because. Man, are the offers going to start piling up at his house?
Here's my attitude. Doesn't Cliff Kingsbury help his cause tremendously? If Cliff Kingsbury can get a job and he's got a below 500 record as a college coach just because he got relationships with some quarterbacks, here's a guy in Lincoln Riley that's produced the last 2 Heisman Trophy winners, and it might be 3 in a row before all is said.
He may not go to the Cowboys like I originally thought,
right.
But listen, Cowboys season has still got a long way to go. It's not over. Nobody's apologizing. I know you're not apologizing to anybody out there. And that's what people need to remember. I'm not trying to give a lesson here. Just let's stop this overreaction train every week. This is a long season in college and the NFL.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Today, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith Podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Quick Silver Card, earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere. Hey, what's in your wallet? Let's go back to the phones before we get on out of here. Let's go to Gary. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
All right, real quick. Go ahead.
Good. I just want to ask you, I know Carmelo Anthony still got some game in him. I'm wondering, do you think he'll be picked up by a team this year? Maybe
I hope so. I hope so, but I will tell you the problem is that Carmelo Anthony, people keep looking at him and saying, can he make a 15-man roster? Carmelo Anthony could be on any 15-man roster. That's not the issue. The question to coaches is, would he be a part of your 9-man rotation? And if the answer is no, then what comes to their mind is, how can we look a future Hall of Famer in the face with him sitting on the end of our bench and not playing him? Who wants to deal with that headache? That's what they're saying. I don't agree with it because I think he can make some teams 9-man rotation. But that's how they feel, and that's what their argument is against him. Gotta go. Appreciate it. Adrian, real quick, go.
Big up, Stephen A. I've got mad respect for you, but I need your help, man.
I need you to hurry up, bro. You only got a minute.
Okay, I need you to use your power and get Jim Harbaugh the heck out of there, man.
Well, what difference does it make? Michigan's been losing for years. What difference does it make?
Yeah, well, Gary Hoke beat Ohio State, and he.
That's true. So, in other words, what you're saying is, if Jim Harbaugh beat Ohio State, all would be forgiven?
No, not with me.
Okay.
Maybe with their alumni, but not with me.
Well, you just brought up the fact that Gary Hoke beat Ohio State.
5-star player since he's gotten there. What did they bring him there for?
I got you. Well, listen, he can't beat ranked teams, can't win on the road, can't win the big games. I can't defend it. I expected a hell of a lot more from Jim Harbaugh than we have seen. And it's been so bad for him in Michigan lately, I don't think he'd get a head coaching job anywhere else after this. I think that argument could be made. Got to get on out of here for the day, but I'll be back 22 hours from now. Until then, Stephen A. Smith signing off. Peace and love, everybody.